Organizations historically move their WordPress sites to managed platform as a service providers like Pantheon for a very practical reason. They needed deployment tools, staging environments, and simple workflows that their internal IT teams couldn't build from scratch. That trade-off made sense for a while. But by 2026, as site portfolios have scaled, that convenience has revealed a severe financial inefficiency. You are paying a massive premium for those tools. On a traditional PaaS model, an $800 platform markup consumes most of a standard $1,000 bill, leaving only $200 for actual compute. Scale that to a $10,000 enterprise bill, and $8,000 vanishes into a platform tax. What started as a shortcut has become a persistent drain on your budget. Every dollar spent on that markup is a dollar you cannot spend on new features, stricter security, or growing your actual business. Escaping this markup requires moving to raw cloud infrastructure, but doing that traditionally strips away all the user-friendly deployment tools you rely on. The modern hosting dilemma balances hardware control against operational simplicity. Managed platforms offer high simplicity, but zero infrastructure control. Raw AWS gives absolute control, but zero simplicity. This leaves a massive void exactly where enterprise teams want to operate: high control combined with high simplicity. For IT leaders, the priority is finding an architectural bridge that occupies this empty space. You need a way to reclaim that 80% markup without having to hire an entire DevOps team to manage bare servers. To understand how to bridge that gap, we have to look at the specific mechanics of a platform like Pantheon. It runs your sites on a proprietary shared container architecture. That setup works beautifully for development speed. It gives teams out-of-the-box Git-based deployments and branch-specific staging environments that make shipping code highly efficient. This matrix tracks how different models handle scaling. Let's map the PaaS approach. Because you don't own the infrastructure, you're entirely blocked from cloud-native cost-saving tools. You cannot access AWS spot instances or savings plans, which typically cut compute costs by up to 70%. That shared architecture also creates severe friction for regulated industries. Healthcare and government teams cannot easily achieve strict HIPAA or FedRAMP compliance when their data sits on lockdown servers they don't control. A closed system functions fine for smaller portfolios, but it breaks down the moment your organization hits strict legal requirements or enterprise budget ceilings. The direct alternative is bypassing the platform entirely and moving straight to raw AWS, running on bare metal computing and global edge networks. Choosing this path provides total ownership of your environments, access to native compliance auditing tools, and market rate pricing for the exact compute power you use. But the operational friction is severe. Without a management interface, your team has to manually maintain Terraform configurations, write Ansible provisioning scripts, orchestrate containers, and handle every SSL certificate renewal by hand. When we update our matrix, you see the exact inverse of the managed platform. The infrastructure cost drops, but the DevOps requirement spikes. For a standard enterprise, raw cloud is a false economy. The thousands of dollars you save on compute pricing are instantly absorbed by the massive salaries of the dedicated engineers you have to hire just to keep the servers running. This brings us to the operational middle ground, a bring your own cloud, or BYOC, management layer. DevPanel is the primary model for this approach. In a BYOC setup, your organization directly owns the AWS account. The data and security protocols are completely yours. DevPanel simply sits on top, automating the provisioning and deployment workflows so your developers don't have to touch the raw servers. This architecture merges the best parts of the two previous models. You get the low cost and high ownership of native AWS, alongside the low DevOps requirements of a managed PaaS. The financial outcome of this structure is highly specific. Organizations moving enterprise WordPress sites to this setup report total hosting costs dropping by 75 to 80% compared to legacy PaaS platforms. It proves that a BYOC architecture is currently the most effective way to retain the automated workflows of a managed host without surrendering the sovereignty of your own infrastructure. The impact of this setup becomes even more apparent when you look past basic hosting and examine the logistics of scaling. Imagine an agency trying to manage 30 to 50 distinct client WordPress sites simultaneously. Legacy platforms rely on seat-based pricing and shared organizational dashboards. When you try to map dozens of external clients into that structure, permission management and cost allocation become immediately convoluted. This diagram shows how DevPanel structures this differently through a workspace model. It isolates distinct client projects into perfectly contained environments under one administrative roof. You control the access without tangling the billing or the codebases. Because provisioning is automated via pre-built templates, a single engineer can clone, configure, and launch complete, secure WordPress environments in minutes instead of hours. For digital agencies, the math is straightforward. Slashing onboarding time and completely eliminating the platform markup on client hosting allows them to retain 20 to 30% higher profit margins per project. Deciding which architecture fits your organization requires a clear look at your specific budget constraints, your compliance requirements, and your internal engineering talent. This flowchart maps out the ideal hosting decisions by looking at 3 distinct operational profiles. If your organization has a massive, highly flexible budget, and your primary mandate is securing out-of-the-box federal compliance, WordPress VIP remains a viable, albeit highly expensive, path. If you are running a single, bespoke application with extremely unique server needs, and you already employ a 5-person dedicated DevOps team, managing raw AWS directly will give you the exact granular control you need. But those 2 profiles represent the extreme edges of the market. The vast majority of enterprise teams do not fit into those categories. That leaves the remaining majority: digital agencies actively protecting their profit margins, universities navigating tight IT budgets, and healthcare systems requiring secure data handling. For these teams, AWS paired with DevPanel is the optimal route. Regulated institutions must choose this path because it allows them to deploy into their own isolated, HIPAA-conscious, and FedRAMP-aligned cloud environments without absorbing the massive price premium of legacy enterprise solutions. Standard enterprise teams must choose this path because it slashes their monthly hosting bills by 80% while still providing the automated, branch-based Git workflows their developers expect. The only operational trade-off is that you must hold a direct billing relationship with the cloud provider. Direct infrastructure ownership is now a standard financial strategy for scaling organizations. Paying an 80% platform markup for basic deployment convenience is a legacy approach that no longer fits the modern enterprise budget.